This is a Buddhist prayer for peace and healing. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to a world without pain. May you be healed. May you be a source for healing for all beings.
And Dave Williamson, please.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both. Do we have any announcements in the room this morning? John Susie has an announcement. Come on up, John. Okay, fresh off our first formal committee meeting, the Pro-Am Day, save the date, it's June the 1st. It'll be held at our home on here in Muirfield. So for those of you who were in the club 3 years ago, 2019, we had a Pro-Am Day at the day of the Wednesday of the tournament week. So this is our annual fundraiser. This replaces the silent auction fundraiser we had the last 2 years because we weren't able to host at our house because of the logistics of the tournament at that time. But we are back and better than ever, as they say, for a Pro-Am Day. Same format as 3 years ago. We'll have an honoree ceremony. We're still putting some of that together. We're asking the members to be responsible for one of three things, all involving you're responsible for 2 tickets for that day. You can either come with your significant other or a friend. You can give those tickets away to a customer or someone that of your choosing, or you can choose not to come at all, which that's not a really good alternative. But this is an actual social event for the club. It's part of our fundraising. We're not asking people to go out and solicit donations or gift cards or anything else. We'll probably have a golf club raffle again, which we're putting together. But the important thing is that we want our members to have the opportunity to enjoy the day. And that is, like I said, June the 1st, Wednesday. It's kind of an all-day event, or it can be a half-day event, whatever you choose. But we're asking you for your participation and hopefully for good weather, which we had 3 years ago. And so we're more details to come, but we will need volunteers that day, the day of, to register people and help with setup and different things. So if you're so inclined, let me know by email. My email is in the directory if you're interested in joining our committee. Thank you. Thank you, John. Other announcements in the room today? How about on the Zoom? Any announcements from anyone in the Zoom meeting? Okay, I've got 2 announcements that I'm really excited to make. So one is through an opportunity that Sinan brought forward with a Rotary Club in Turkey. We have awarded a $1,500 grant to a science lab project in cooperation with a Rotary Club in Turkey. So very excited about that. And thanks to Sinan for bringing that forward. And then the other thing is Sharon Kendall, who leads our international committee, brought forward a request, and we are going to make a $2,500 donation to Ukrainian disaster relief. So just thanks to everyone again for continuing to create the opportunities that we have to give to these great causes. Okay, so we can transition. I am excited that we have a member-to-member spotlight today. Just as a reminder, if you look through your email history, search on Claudia Trustee, and you'll see email reminders to register to do a member-to-member spotlight, but I want to invite Jean and Julie up for the member-to-member spotlight. Welcome.
Yes, me again. Sorry about that. So Jean and I decided to do this together when we did the bell ringing for the Salvation Army. So I'm going to start. So this is Jean Oliver, and Jean's family moved to rural Dublin in the mid-40s, and he is the 8th of 9 children. Now Coffin High School, he was a member of the first graduating class for the new Dublin High School. And there were 125 students in his graduating class. Showing love and an aptitude for music, he attended the Ohio State University to train as a music teacher. In addition to making beautiful music, he saw how music brought people together and taught them to understand the value of shared work. After reviewing offers to work as a high school band director locally and a college graduate assistantship, he instead chose to focus his career and aspirations on business and computer science. That was a switch at the Ohio State University, eventually earning an MBA from Ohio University. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I messed up. Yes, Jim, Ohio University. Jean works in information technology and has held several senior leadership roles. He is currently serving as the IT director for the city of Worthington. In addition to transforming the IT services for the city, he is a co-chair of the city's diversity, equity, and inclusion program. Thank you. And co-chairs the broadband working group for Morpsey. Having benefited from community support work as a child, Jean wants to give back to the community. In addition to Rotary, he served as president of the Dublin Chamber, is a member of the Dublin Education Foundation, and serves as a mentor for students in Worthington schools. In retirement, when that happens, he plans to volunteer as an ad litem. Jean is the proud father of 2 daughters, Sarah and Anna. Sarah works as a financial analyst for Chase, and Anna is studying nursing. He is an equally proud grandfather of Miles and Marvin, who are dogs for the dog lovers out there, and Slick, a cat. More to come on that. And then here's a trivia question. What do Jack Nicholas, Bob Hope, Mike's son Luke, and Jean Oliver have in common? They all dotted the I in Script, Ohio. So cool. All right. Thank you.
So Julie was born in Washington, D.C. and grew up in Rockville, Maryland until 6th grade. The neighborhood where she grew up was very diverse, and many of the neighbors worked for the government and have worked all over the world. Julie's parents and whole family is from the East Coast. Julie moved to Columbus in 1994 and met her husband, David, on a blind date in 1996 after being set up by their gay male hairdresser. The hairdresser assured Julie to trust his good taste in men. Julie's brush with fame was when she attended the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame opening night in Cleveland and proceeded to stumble. As luck would have it, her purse fell down and all the contents went down the escalator right in front of Yoko Ono.
Tampons and all.
Julie and her husband adopted 2 boys who were in foster care system, who were both 10 at the time of their adoption and came to them with lots of trauma and behavioral issues. This made for a very interesting parenting experience. Julie credits the Dublin City Schools for embracing the boys as they struggled on many levels. Julie was best friends with all of the principals of all of the schools her sons attended. Both are now young adults. Julie and her husband, David, are co-parenting their 8-year-old grandson with his biological mother and have been since his birth. Julie is CEO of the local nonprofit Centera, which provides behavioral health services on behalf of people of all ages. She loves this work and has been doing it for 37 years.
Julie joined the club in April 2006 and was sponsored by Catherine Mahele Combs. I first got to know Julie through the club service with Miracle League of Central Ohio. And most recently, as she already mentioned, she demonstrated Jedi level mastery as a bell ringer for the Salvation Army. She always has a quick smile and the aura of an empath. Her prayers seem to capture the mood of the club and community and remind us to be thankful and hopeful. More than once, she has helped me get quick access to mental health care for a family member. I'm honored to count you as a friend.
Yeah, that last part.
See how nice that is? If any of you haven't signed up to do it, please sign up. Okay, let's welcome today's sergeant, Mr. Cap Clay.
So what Jean didn't mention about Julie, Julie's our longest serving Rotary president of our club. She served her normal year, and then of course, she filled in for Mike Close, who was president. And she served another half year, filling in for Mike.
And I never came back.
So we've got a special guest this morning, Lisa Travis. Lisa's a guest of mine. Lisa's a pastor at Vista Community Church. She's a member of the Elizabethtown Athletic Hall of Fame and just an awesome person. So welcome, Lisa. We've got a couple other guests that Julie will be back up here introducing later. So just a couple finds this morning. Pete Cushing, what's your badge say?
What's my what say?
Badge, your name badge. say?
Pete Cushing.
What's it say under that? These are tough questions.
Past president, 2007, 2008,
And then what?
banking, retail.
Banking retail. All right. So in the last year and a half, Pete's had like 3 jobs. He was a banker, then he was a retired banker, and now he's back as a serial banker. So why don't you tell us about your new position?
I am the market, I work for Heartland Bank, Rich and I work together, right? Go Heartland Bank. So I manage their marketing for Ohio.
Cool. So if you need a home equity loan, if you need a high yielding CD, call Pete. He's got a great office in Hilliard. And, you know, we've already negotiated with Hilliard Rotary Club that if he ever joins them, we get 15 members in exchange. That's a value he brings us. So thanks, Pete. Who's got 5 teams left in their NCAA pool? See if I got 5 teams left. You do, Jim? After last night? I was gonna say after last night, if you got 5. All right, Pete, why don't you collect fines? Jim owes us $1 because he's obviously a professional gambler. If he can figure out how to. Got time on it. Got 5 to do this, so.
Just $1?
Just $1. It's, so Pete owes $1 for that. All right, 9 months from today is Christmas. Who has already bought a Christmas present for next year or for this year? Nobody? Wow. Huh, that surprised me. All right. We can't find you there. All right, so the big elephant in the room that we're going to find people on is, are there any Browns fans here today?
Yes.
There we go. All right. So notice it, you know, I was thinking about Cleveland sports teams. I mean, a team, they've got the Cleveland Guardians. Now, would a Cleveland Guardians team ever sign somebody who's got 22 accusations of sexual assault? I mean, the Guardians, no, it's got to be the Browns to do. So just, we're not going to go into that, but you owe $1 for just being so desperate to get to.
We don't want, we can't have nice things.
If you're that desperate to get to a Super Bowl, that says a lot about you. So, all right, I am going to ask Ms. Ross to pick a winner ticket, please. One, come back, all right, cool. Mike, you've got glasses on. Yep.
1214.
Ron Morgan, all right. Ron gets $7. Want to do one more way up there?
1233.
Here, Pete. All right, top of the box.
All right, thank you, Cap. All right, we're gonna bring Julie up one more time for her encore performance this morning to introduce our speaker.
All right. Hi, everybody. All right, so I am here to introduce Patrick McLean. He's the Chief Financial Officer of the Franklin County Adam Board. And I was asked to introduce Patrick because Centero is a contract agency of the Adam Board and has been since the 80s, so for a long, long time. Patrick joined the Adam team as the Chief Financial Officer in August 2021. He brings tremendous experience from the intersection of finance and public policy through his work with city councils and the Ohio General Assembly. A native Ohioan, McLean grew up in Cincinnati and spent time in Toledo, Oxford, Dayton, and more than 17 years in Columbus. His 20 plus years in public service include 11 years with the Ohio General Assembly and 4 years as finance director for the city of Toledo. He served as finance director for the Office of the Attorney General and associate vice chancellor for the former Ohio Board of Regents. I won't go over the rest of it because it's a lot, but obviously he's well qualified to be speaking to us today. So welcome, Patrick.
We're just old.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Good morning, everybody. All right. One of the things that Julie hadn't mentioned is that my last job, I was for 8 years, I ran a public policy institute and did a lot of teaching, which meant I wandered around classrooms. And so having to stand here in place is going to be a challenge for me. I need a bucket of warm cement or something like that to keep me from moving. As long as I'm, well, I think I better just stay here so the folks at home can see me as well. But so that I can see, they can see everything, 360. How about that? All right, I might do that. I have to carry the mic and the clicker. All right, let's see what I can do. Anyway, it's good to be with a bunch of fellow morning early risers. Happy to be here in Dublin with you. I'm here to talk to you today about a major project, the Franklin County Mental Health Addiction Crisis Center. This is a major project that I tell people is not for Adam, it may be by Adam H. Ford, but it's really a community endeavor and a project and a huge partnership that is going to cost for construction process alone $50 million. And that's going to take a lot of partnerships. And we've been working with groups like yours, as well as groups that we'll talk about throughout the community that have been part of our effort. Let me see if we can try to move the slides. On the screen, that's about all. Figure this out. Yeah. No, if you know, I can advance. I'm happy to advance it with these if that's
Yeah.
necessary, right?
Okay, that worked. So we just did that. Worked. We're good.
Okay.
But you can't see it, but
Okay. Should go one more.
you'll have five.
Yeah. It's up here, and it's on the Zoom. It is
All right.
moving on the Zoom, but it's moving on the screen up here, so I'm gonna try to get you here.
Okay. Okay. Try to be flexible here with this.
That's great.
Back for a second. Go back. That was right there. Okay.
You can sort of see
Yep, thank you.
small, but
Okay, I think we're ready to, we'll make this work. Sometimes you have to improvise. I want to start out with a couple of statistics, and some of you have heard these statistics before, or you've heard something like this, or if you haven't heard them as formal statistics, you probably know it through reading. The media is just picking up on this a little bit more, but here's some sort of starting data for you. 21% of Franklin County's 1.3 million residents will experience a mental illness in any given year, right? So about 1 in 5. Some 30,000 mental health crisis episodes are treated annually in Franklin County. So crisis episodes where people are really struggling and having an intensive experience with mental health issues. 900 individuals needing medical clearances are transported from the current crisis facility to emergency departments. And emergency departments, if you know anything about treatment, are not fully prepared to deal with those kinds of situations, mental health crises. And finally, 23%, Franklin County's population is expected to see about a 23% increase in the need for mental health and addiction services over the course of the next 10 years. And there are some people who suggest that those numbers are really conservative. It could be more than that. And we've seen some of these statistics as well during the pandemic, also exacerbated, made even more challenging. Just simply as Julie talked a little bit about with her own situation. Just statistically speaking, the number of people in this room, chances are that most of you, perhaps even all of you, have some knowledge, either personally yourselves or family members or people that you know. This affects everybody. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what your demographics are. People are affected by mental health challenges, substance use challenges. And so we're looking for ways to address this better than we have in the past. Now let's see if we can make anything move. Oh, it is moving there. It's just not moving on my screen. Okay. That works. Okay. So I'm here to tell you about the Crisis Center, but I want you to know also that this is not the only part of dealing with crises, mental health crises that we are focused on. So as a community, we see this as, think of it as a three-legged stool. So there will be a call center. 988 goes online. You may have been reading recently. It's got some challenges, but the hope is it's going to go online as a sort of a 911 for behavioral health later this year. Mobile response. Many of you have also read the last couple of years, especially the idea that when first responders go out on calls, there are times when police are not necessarily the ones that are best trained, best equipped to care for the situations that they find themselves in, right? They're not social workers. They are not crisis counselors, and several of those, the things that they deal with or are asked to deal with is really a challenge for some of those first responders. So we look at ways to create the right mix, the right people to respond to that. So not just police, but others as well. So those two parts are part of the crisis response as a whole. The third part is what I'm here to talk to you about, and that's the crisis center. So I just want you to know for today that it's part of a broader effort to deal with crisis issues in Franklin County. I mentioned earlier that we are doing this as a collaboration. This is meant to be a community project. We have sought community input over the last several years, long before I got to Adam H. We have talked with and continue to talk with community providers, hospitals, law enforcement, advocacy organizations, individuals and families with lived experiences. And so we can see on here our sort of vision that we will have a crisis center that is a secure, safe place that has the capacity to serve anyone at any time that they are in crisis, so 24/7. Have a full array of services to support these individuals. We'll talk about some of those services in one of the next slides. And then we'll integrate peer support into all levels of care and facilitate what we call warm handoffs. That is taking the folks that are in the crisis center for care and making sure that they move to the appropriate next level, next steps for care once the crisis situation is stabilized. For those who might not have heard about this or know where it is, we're looking for a location in Franklin County that would be central. And we have a location, if you've driven on I-70, probably see, I don't know if you can see it in both directions, but as you're heading eastbound on 70, just south of downtown, you see a big W. It's the West Edge Business Park. And where that W is actually on the property where this is going to be built. So you can sort of see it there. Here's a little bit better picture. So it's just kind of where 71 and 70 divide on the sort of southwest of that intersection of that junction, the two highways on Harmon Avenue. I think we're about a month away from having some color renderings that we could actually show you what it's going to look like. We're not quite there yet, but we're close. So I mentioned earlier that this is with multiple services that will be provided at this 24/7 facility. So we'll have a walk-in clinic, so you can get there in any way. You can come on your own. Trying to figure out how many people might do that. We wanted to have a location that would be on public transit, so that's possible. And a lot of people will also be brought in through first responders who may have gone on calls and don't have a place to go, for people in this situation. So there's a walk-in clinic. There's also a 24 or 23-hour observation unit, so people can stay for a period of time. And that period of time could be longer because we also have an inpatient unit. So people may stay for several days as well. So whatever the appropriate situation is, we're trying to anticipate all possible circumstances and have appropriate care for them. These are some of what I think of as the sort of wraparound services. We'll have pharmacy services. It's not a full-blown pharmacy, but we'll at least have enough for those who may need medications to get them through the next couple of days, for example. Again, with a focus on stabilization. We'll have medical services. A lot of people that might come in for behavioral health reasons also have physical health issues at the same time. Community services, family support services, treatment services. This is meant as a crisis center. It's meant to deal with the immediate concerns, the immediate needs of the people that come in. But it's also meant to make sure that when they go back into the community, that they are fully supported as well. And that's really critical. So it's not the case that we hand people a phone number and say, here, call Centera, call the appropriate local group. We'll figure out ways to have people even on site and make sure that people know exactly what they're doing next to keep them from going into crisis, hopefully in the future. Once again, on the theme of This is a community effort. This is where our money is coming from. And there are multiple sources you can see from our donut here. So Adam H, through its levy dollars, thanks to all of you, as the voters who have kindly supported us with your property tax millage. We're putting $8 million in, at least into the construction. There are 3 hospitals, so Mount Carmel, Ohio Health, and OSU Wexner, combined are kicking in $8 million as well. Franklin County Commissioners have given us $10 million. We have Columbus, another $10 million. We just got, so this is an updated slide, we just got $500,000 in federal funding. We've got a range of philanthropic supporters, so about $5 million there. State of Ohio, with its capital budget a couple of years ago, gave us $4.5 million. Grand total is $50 million. Of that, we've got about $46.5 million. Now, of course, if you think about finance at all, as I do, you're worried if you have to stay on budget and on time. Right now, I can say we're there, but almost all of you probably understand the challenging environment that we're in right now. Workforce issues for construction, costs for construction, costs for materials, all exacerbated by supply chain issues, by pandemic issues, now by war issues. It's a challenging environment, but we're doing everything we can to stay within that budget. Mentioned that we've done a lot of work so far, even though we have not yet broken ground. So these are some of the milestones over the last year and a half or so, but the steering committee made up of different stakeholders and members within the community has been meeting on a regular basis. They've made recommendations. We got an owner's rep because we're not in the business of building buildings typically. We have some people working with us and for us that are. Have the site, as I mentioned earlier, put in place a crisis center operator. So we're not going to be the operator of the facility. We have an organization called RI International that is has been doing this in other states around the country as well. And we have NBDJ. Some of you may know, designed a lot of buildings in Central Ohio and around the state, including the Behavioral Health Pavilion at Nationwide Children's. And Elford Cornicosin is a partnership that will serve as our construction manager. So we get all the pieces of the team have been put together with a goal of breaking ground this year. We expect we will make that, and with a goal of cutting a ribbon and providing services in 2024. Which stresses me out on a daily basis. Suddenly 2024 does not seem very far away at all. Jill, did I miss anything? Jill keeps me honest here, so. Lots of questions. I think I saw this gentleman in the St. Patrick's
Any
shirt.
type of issues that people have when they come in.
You know, so you're talking to the CFO rather than the behavioral health specialist, but you know, I might even call on Julie to help me answer that question. You know, people struggle with all kinds of issues that may cause them to simply not be able to function fully as we think of it in society, or maybe struggling with various things could be related to addictions, could be related to ongoing acute mental health concerns that manifest themselves in that get the police call on them, people that maybe haven't taken medication, that need medication to keep themselves centered. I don't know, Julie, you want to mention anything else?
Someone having a heroin overdose or
It's a lot of people that may have had, not something that just usually happens without having had some history, perhaps, as well. Somebody else, yes.
How many people do you expect you'll be able to serve, like particularly on an inpatient basis?
So I think they're going to be, get this right, I think about 16 beds, if I'm not mistaken. We're trying to figure out those numbers ourselves, which is a real, we'll sort of have to see. But right now, we're building a building that we think will serve the need of 72,000 square feet, 2 stories, and we expect that it will be big enough to serve us at least over the course of a couple of decades, right? We'll factor in the growth of the need based on some of the statistics that I said earlier.
So how are these individuals being served today? Are they just not being served? Are they ending up in hospitals?
Some of both. So we currently have one of our providers, part of our network, called Netcare, and they are able to take some of these, but they have limited capacity. A lot do end up in the hospitals and often in the emergency rooms, and that's part of the motivation for the hospitals realizing this is not the place for them to be treated and get good care, or the care that's appropriate for them in that crisis circumstance. So that's part of the motivation, I think, for them saying, let's get them to the right place, and we'll help you do that.
Patrick,
Yes. Yes.
about 10 years ago, when my own kids were sort of high school and college age, it seemed like there's a big gap on children's, young adults coverage, which I think Nationwide is picking up some of. What's sort of the coverage model? Is it Nationwide handles them to a certain stage and then
18, yeah, 18 there, yeah, and then adults.
so you're focused on sort of the 18 and over?
Yes. Yes.
What's this synergism, sorry, between Centero and Adam H or this facility?
So Centero is one of 32 providers that we have. So we don't provide direct, Adam H does not provide direct services. Adam H provides funding for some services throughout the community. So we are not the only provider. Julie could speak to what percentage of her budget comes from Adam H, but we have some providers, for instance, that we provide, only 1 or 2% of their overall budget. We have others that are north of 50% of their budget, much more reliant on Adam H dollars. So it's a range, but we try to look at what are the needs of the community and how are those needs changing, and then work with qualified and competent providers to fill those needs. And so that's what our whole contracting process is. And obviously providing for and making plans for crisis care is a piece of that puzzle. So different providers provide different kinds of treatment, prevention services, other kinds of support services, housing as well, in some cases. So, yes.
So in this new crisis center, will you be providing services, or will you be outsourcing services, or will you be staffing NH staff?
Yeah, I mentioned that organization, RI International. So that's the organization that also works in these sort of crisis centers around the country. We are working with them now in the planning stages with the anticipation that they will be the ones ultimately that provide the services.
Okay.
Yeah, so we know what we don't know. They have that skill, that capacity, and so we've brought them on for that purpose. Yes, sir.
Work with alcohol, people with alcohol problems all about professional life. And typically, it's not the person with the alcohol problem that comes to treatment, but his wife or his teenage son, or the parent of a 30-something-year-old person with alcoholism. That's
So two questions. How do those people make contact with you for help with their family? If it's a whole family issue. Secondly, you serve both men and women. Myth is that it's mainly a male problem. Research suggests that it's pretty much 50-50 in terms of alcohol.
So, I'm sorry, could you repeat the first part of the question was how we're going to, I mean, you asked about sort of supports and people coming in for somebody else in their family. And that's, you're certainly right about that. One of the areas we recognize, we have something called our systems of care. And one of those is family supports. We recognize that there are issues that often for anybody that has substance use disorder or mental health issues, that the family is critical in their family dynamics. So some of the support that we provide to our network of providers, financial support, is to cover those kinds of services, to work with families, work with others. So it's not just isolated to that one particular person. As far as males and females, you know that data better than I do, but we try to be responsive to whatever those needs are. We certainly don't make an assumption that it's only one population in the case of substance use disorder. So it's the needs and the nature of the needs are evolving in Franklin County. We have different populations with the immigrant population that has really grown in this county. They brought with it some other specific needs, and so that's just one more example of how we have to kind of adapt to what the needs of specific groups are. So in the case of substance use disorder, men, women, young people, they all have to work.
Just wanted to really quickly say that Patrick talked about the system of care and the providers we work with, like Centero. We also work with Mary Haven. And so a person who has an addiction challenge, their family could actually reach out to Mary Haven, and it can happen in a really planned way. If they encounter the crisis center, it could be because they were publicly having an addiction crisis. The folks who come to the crisis center or who brought to the crisis center are there because of crises, and they're stabilized and then moved on. And in the case of alcohol or other addictions, they would be handed off in what we call a warm handoff to Mary Haven. The other thing is providers will be in the building, right? So as Patrick said, it's not just a cold call. Providers will be there. So when your loved one is brought there, they're stabilized, and then another provider steps in to give them what they need. And in the case of alcoholism or drug abuse, it might be Mary Haven or a service like that. So
Thank you. I think we have just one final comment from the chat.
We do, from Aaron Prescott of the Newark Rotary, on behalf of the Osteopathic Heritage Foundation, thank you for your leadership in addressing these critical issues.
Well, thank you to them. They are among our strongest of strong supporters for this facility. So we're very appreciative. And I'll stay around afterwards if people have other questions. I'll be here, happy to talk to you individually.
Thank you.
One more question.
Real quick.
The 50 million that you have, that you put up there.
Yes.
Is that just to build the building?
Yes.
That's not up.
Then we have to operate it. Yes. That's what keeps me up at night then. The next budget.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick and
Thank
Joe,
you
for being here. Our quote today comes from Buddha. No matter how hard the past, you can always begin again. Next week, we have our city manager, Dana McDaniel. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.